In 1933, within the quiet industrial heart of Derby, England, the world's most consequential machine began as nothing more than a whisper. The Great War's scars still lingered across Europe, and governments clung to the fragile illusion of peace that industrial smoke could barely conceal. In the dim halls of Rolls-Royce, a handful of engineers worked beneath flickering lamps, surrounded by blueprints inked with hope, fear, and impossible precision. They called it PV-12, a private venture built without orders, funding, or certainty, yet carrying the restless spirit of Henry Royce himself. His death 3 years earlier had not silenced his obsession with perfection. It had transformed it into an invisible hand, guiding every trembling pencil stroke across the drafting tables. Britain's air power was a fragile idea then, fragmented between outdated biplanes and cautious bureaucrats afraid of another ruinous conflict. But within those factory walls, something greater than foresight took shape, a defiance that would one day roar louder than politics or doubt. The engineers faced material shortages, budget denials, and laughter from officials who dismissed their liquid-cooled vision as fragile and overcomplicated. They were told it would never fly, never cool efficiently, never survive the violent altitude shifts that shattered lesser designs. Yet night after night, they continued refining each line, carving perfection from exhaustion. Their tools were crude by later standards, their calculations handwritten, their tolerances guessed with intuition rather than computers, yet what they created transcended their limitations. Each bolt and bearing embodied human stubbornness against mediocrity. As prototypes emerged from the assembly bays, their smooth alloy casings gleamed beneath gaslight like weapons destined for invisible wars. The men who touched those engines could not have known that their creation would one day lift the weight of civilization itself. Outside the factory, England slept uneasily beneath headlines of political unrest in Germany, unaware that destiny was already idling in those echoing halls. The PV-12 was still nameless, unproven, and unwanted, but inside its cylinders slept the potential to rewrite history. It was born not from command but conviction, from the stubborn dream that perfection, however improbable, could still defend a nation unprepared for what was coming. In the silence before storm, the Merlin waited to awaken. By 1936, the secret creation that had begun as a whisper now roared with terrifying defiance inside test stands across Derby. The PV-12 had evolved into something alive, unpredictable, and untamed, a metallic creature that refused to obey its makers. Each ignition was a gamble between genius and disaster, between triumph and tragedy, between the desire to conquer the skies and the fear of mechanical betrayal. Engineers and pilots stood side by side, eyes fixed on trembling gauges, listening to the haunting rhythm of pistons that could at any moment explode into deadly silence. The air smelled of burnt oil, metal fatigue, and sleepless desperation, while the test hangars echoed with a sound that bordered on madness itself. The Merlin, as it would soon be christened, had become infamous even before it proved its worth. Its cooling systems boiled over without warning, glycol erupting from cracked lines like scalding venom, coating the ground beneath broken engines. Bearings seized mid-test, pistons shattered into fragments that tore through casings, and connecting rods bent with horrifying violence under unseen stress. Each failure destroyed months of work, threatened lives, and consumed money the company did not have. Pilots described their test flights as dances with death, forced to land crippled aircraft in smoke and fire before engines seized completely. Every report sent to the Air Ministry read like an obituary, each one describing another promising design ruined by the engine's rebellion. Newspapers would never print these tragedies, yet inside the workshops, men began whispering that the Merlin was cursed. But behind the exhaustion, behind the scars and wrecked prototypes, there remained a single unwavering truth. They could not stop. The engineers believed that within those flaws lay something extraordinary, something worth dying for if perfection demanded it. Henry Royce's ghost hung over every decision. His philosophy of precision burned into every soul who picked up a wrench or drafted a new line. They worked without rest, bleeding fingers and blistered eyes, determined to make this rebellious creation obey. The engine roared, screamed, and destroyed, but it also taught them. With each explosion, they learned. With each failure, they improved. The beast resisted, but slowly, painfully, it began to yield. Within that agony, the Merlin was being born again, forged through chaos, destined for legend. By the spring of 1938, the noise within the Rolls-Royce workshops no longer sounded like defiance. It sounded like determination forged into rhythm. What had once been chaos became an orchestra of persistence, guided by minds that refused surrender and hands that no longer trembled at failure. The engineers had learned the language of the machine, deciphering the engine's moods through vibration and sound, shaping innovation through patience and willpower. The Merlin was no longer an unpredictable adversary. It was an evolving masterpiece that demanded understanding rather than control. Within that realization, redemption began to take form. Superchargers were redesigned to breathe deeper at altitude. Pistons were strengthened with alloys refined through endless nights of recalculation, and cooling systems were reimagined with brutal simplicity. Every flaw that once haunted their efforts was now documented, dissected, and rebuilt into strength. Where the PV-12 had once died on its test stands, the new Merlin began to live longer than its predecessors dared to. Engineers like Stanley Hooker, whose mathematical genius unlocked the secrets of airflow, became quiet saviors behind the roar. With his calculations, the Merlin began to inhale power where others gasped for air, turning technical endurance into mechanical poetry. Yet, redemption was not found in steel alone. It lived in the people who refused to quit when logic said otherwise. They worked beneath blackout curtains, surrounded by the thunder of prototypes that devoured fuel and faith in equal measure. Each success brought only brief relief before the next design demanded improvement, and each improvement demanded another sleepless night. But where exhaustion once ruled, resolve now reigned. Their conviction transformed an unreliable dream into a reliable warrior. By late 1938, test flights began returning with engines that no longer coughed, sputtered, or died mid-climb. For the first time, pilots smiled when the throttle advanced, hearing not uncertainty, but power, clean and unwavering. The Merlin had found its voice, sharp, steady, and disciplined. It no longer fought its makers, it obeyed their vision. Within those roaring chambers of combustion, Britain's hope was quietly reborn. The men of Rolls-Royce did not just fix a machine, they redeemed their faith in human ingenuity. The Merlin's resolve became their own, and both were now unstoppable. By the summer of 1940, the skies above southern England thundered with a sound that no longer belonged to failure or fear. The Merlin engine, once dismissed as unstable and untrustworthy, now carried the burden of an entire nation's survival within its 12 cylinders. When the Luftwaffe unleashed its relentless waves against Britain's cities and airfields, it was the growl of the Merlin that rose to meet them, echoing across the clouds like defiance made flesh. Spitfires and Hurricanes climbed through haze and smoke, their propellers slicing dawn light, their engines singing the hymn of redemption that had taken years to compose. Every roar from a Merlin-powered fighter was a line of history being rewritten, every interception a declaration that Britain would not kneel. Pilots trusted their engines more than their luck, pulling hard into the sun where Messerschmitts dived from above. The Merlin never hesitated, never faltered, even when riddled with bullets or pushed beyond its tested limits. Its supercharger sang under strain, its pistons hammered with precision, and its exhaust flames lit the gray morning skies like burning resolve. Those who once doubted its reliability now watched in awe as it became the beating heart of British resistance. From the white cliffs of Dover to the smouldering ruins of London, the sound of triumph carried through the air, unbroken and proud. Civilians paused beneath that thunderous music, knowing that somewhere above, their fate depended on the steady rhythm of mechanical faith. The pilots who flew the Spitfires swore the Merlin had a soul, that it answered courage with power, fear with strength, and silence with survival. Each dogfight was an orchestration of speed, chaos, and destiny, where victory depended not only on man, but on the perfection of the machine beneath him. When the Battle of Britain ended, the Merlin had done more than power an aircraft. It had powered a nation's will to endure. Factories ran without pause, producing engines faster than bombs could fall, each one carrying the legacy of those first failures, now transformed into victory. Fire raged over Britain. Yet within that fire, triumph was born. The Merlin had not just saved a country, it had defined the sound of freedom itself, roaring above the ashes of despair. By 1942, the Merlin's song no longer belonged only to Britain. It had become the unifying heartbeat of the Allied skies. Across the Atlantic, under the massive industrial might of Packard in Detroit, its blueprints were reborn in American steel, every bolton bearing a symbol of transatlantic brotherhood. The British had given the world their engine, and the Americans had given it endless production, precision, and reach. Together they transformed engineering into hope, and hope into strategy. In hangars stretching beyond sight, assembly lines hummed in rhythm with the same faith that once flickered inside a single Derby workshop. Thousands of engines left the factories each month, bound for Spitfires, Mosquitoes, and the mighty P-51 Mustangs that would soon change the very balance of air power. The Packard-built Merlins were identical in spirit, their roars indistinguishable from those born in Derby, yet their multiplication meant something greater, that courage could now be manufactured. As the Allies took the fight to the skies over Europe and the Pacific, the Merlin became the shared voice of nations united by purpose rather than geography. Pilots from Canada, New Zealand, and the United States all trusted the same rhythmic heartbeat beneath their throttles, believing that no darkness could withstand its light. Inside every aircraft that lifted into war, the Merlin whispered of defiance, of friendship, of collective endurance. Its hum accompanied the convoys over the Atlantic, the bombers over the Ruhr, and the reconnaissance planes mapping the uncertain future. The engine that had once struggled to survive now sustained thousands of lives, not through perfection alone, but through cooperation born of necessity. Hope, once a fragile ember in the hands of a few engineers, now burned across continents. The alliance between British ingenuity and American industry proved that technology could transcend borders, politics, and pride. The Merlin became more than machinery. It was a promise that freedom, once protected by desperation, could now be defended by unity. Each propeller's rotation carried that unspoken message across the clouds, that nations could build not only weapons, but brotherhood. As the war raged, the Allies no longer fought alone. They fought together, their courage synchronized through engines of steel and hearts of fire, bound by the sound of one immortal roar called hope. By 1944, the roar of the Merlin had become a hymn of both victory and remembrance, echoing across continents scarred by war. Its sound no longer inspired only pride, but also reverence, for every triumph it powered carried the shadow of those who never returned. The skies above Normandy, Arnhem, and the Ardennes bore silent witness to the countless pilots who vanished within clouds of smoke and fire, leaving behind only fragments of twisted steel and fading contrails. Their courage was inseparable from the machine they flew, their sacrifice etched forever into the engine's relentless rhythm. Each rotation of the crankshaft was a heartbeat borrowed from their bravery, each climb into the heavens a farewell whispered to the earth below. Factories across Derby, Glasgow, and Detroit continued their endless labor. Yet within every engine assembled lay more than craftsmanship. There was mourning hidden in the metal. Workers signed their initials discreetly onto crankcases, quiet tributes to friends, brothers and sons who would never return to hear their work sing again. The clatter of tools and the hiss of oil carried a kind of ritual solemnity, as if each Merlin produced was both a weapon and a eulogy. Even as victory approached, the men and women of the assembly lines knew the cost written into every bolt tightened by trembling hands. Over Europe, the Merlin's voice became a requiem drifting through shattered towns and open fields, blending with the hum of liberation and loss. Survivors would later recall how its sound lingered long after the battles ended, haunting the skies like the ghost of those who gave everything. It reminded nations that progress was never free, that innovation was purchased with courage and grief alike. Beneath its thunder lay silence, the silence of names unspoken but never forgotten. When the war's tide finally began to recede, the Merlin's legacy was already carved in sacrifice. Its music no longer belonged to factories or flight squadrons. It belonged to the fallen who had transformed invention into salvation. Their absence gave the engine its soul, turning mechanical achievement into sacred memory. The Merlin had triumphed, but its victory was paid in lives, and in that solemn truth, reverence was born. When the guns finally fell silent in 1945, the sound that lingered longest was not of destruction, but of endurance. The Merlin engine, once a fragile experiment born in secrecy, had become the eternal pulse of an age defined by courage and precision. Across the quiet airfields of England, rows of resting Spitfires shimmered in the fading light, their cowlings still warm with memory, their hearts silent yet unforgotten. Mechanics stood beside them in silence, knowing they had witnessed not merely engineering but resurrection, the transformation of human resolve into mechanical immortality. The Merlin had done more than win battles. It had preserved the fragile balance between freedom and oblivion. Its influence continued far beyond the war it helped to end. The principles forged in its creation shaped the future of aviation, in jet design, metallurgy, and aerodynamic philosophy. Engineers who once tightened its bolts carried its lessons into the dawning jet age, their minds still guided by the discipline and humility the Merlin demanded. From the Rolls-Royce Derwent to the mighty Avons that would power the early jetliners, echoes of that same spirit endured. Every turbine that ever lifted mankind higher carried in some invisible way the ghost of the Merlin's thunder. Museums would later display it as a relic, yet those who understood knew it was never just machinery. The gleam of its polished casings, the scent of aged oil, the hum of its restored ignition, all spoke of lives lived and lost beneath its shadow. Its sound, once the anthem of resistance, became a living archive of human ingenuity and sacrifice. Generations born after the war would hear recordings of its roar and feel something indescribable: awe, gratitude, and a strange sadness woven together like memory and flame. Today, when a restored Spitfire takes to the sky, the Merlin's voice still shatters the silence of complacency. It reminds the world that greatness is never granted. It is earned through perseverance, unity, and sacrifice. Its thunder belongs to no single nation, but to all who dared to hope when hope seemed impossible. The Merlin endures not as an artifact of war, but as a monument to the spirit of mankind, immortal, relentless, and free.